Hello bass family and welcome to Everything Bass. So today we're moving on with the fundamentals of slap, and I have to tell you, this is the second time I shot this because the first time was a week ago, and I did a series on the weekends. I should try to shoot a big amount of videos, and but I had a really bad migraine headache starting as I started doing the series, and this was the last video in the series. I kept all the other videos but this one because I was just horrible. However, just for an inside joke, any video where I'm wearing a black polo shirt, you can see my descent into madness unfold. I should actually post, maybe I'll post on the Patreon subscription page the order I shot them so you can watch them in the order that my brain exploded within my skull. But when I got to this one, I was calling notes wrong on the fingerboard. At one point, I paused and just kind of looked off in the distance, and I began sweating profusely. So after that video, I tore down all my recording gear and I crawled into bed for like 10 hours. So yeah, go back and watch any of the. I'm not going to do any more videos ever with that black polo shirt. So if you see me in a black polo shirt, I was in hell. So enough of that. I really want to cover this because it's Unit 7 in Fundamentals of Slap, and it's covering one way of strumming chords into your slap, and including them into your slap grooves. So strumming is something I first heard from Stanley Clarke when he was playing School Days, but later on, Les Claypool, I heard him do it. I mean, there's too many. It's become a real viable part of including into your slap. And I like doing it, especially when I'm in a trio setting or a setting when one of the members goes to solo and maybe the groove kind of gets a little empty sounding. I'll put some strummed chords in there. So how do you strum? Well, we're going to strum mostly power chords today, which is just the root and a perfect fifth above the root. In this case, we'll start with 7th fret on the D string, 9th fret on the G string. Now, I hold these down with my index and my pinky because I need these fingers to lightly come over and touch the strings I'm not playing. Because in the act of strumming the bass, I might inadvertently hit them, and I don't want them included because they're not in the chord, and they might not be in the chord that I'm playing. So I get this habit of using my middle fingers as mutes, if you will. And you're going to want to make a motion where you go down with your hand and you let the sides, not straight down like a flamenco player. You can do it, it's fine, but in this technique I come more at an angle so that my fingernails hit and give me a real bright strum sound. Now in each one of those I hit the A and the E string, well the A string, but because I'm muting it you can't hear it. Now you might notice coming up I'm striking just with the pads of my fingers, just kind of get a different tone and another rhythm in there. So again, kind of coming at the angle with the fingernails, not straight on, I find more conducive to working it into my actual slap technique. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, please just go find Fundamentals of Slap Unit 7 and download the PDF, but there's some simple exercises I'm showing you. The first one, I just take that same shape, that same perfect fifth interval, I strum one note or one time, I'm doing quarter notes, I move down 2 frets, see, I missed the first time. I just got the G string. It'll happen. Don't let it stop you. Just keep working on it. And then I go down 2 more frets where I'm starting on the 3rd fret with the index finger, pinky's on the 5th fret. And then I go down 1 fret. And then I come back up. So the first section, I'm just doing this. Now the second section, I'm doing it, but this is technically a little more of a challenge, but you may want to strum chords that are on the A and the D string. Or if you're a 5/6 string player, you'll just want to use a power chord that's within the string, so you have strings on both sides that you don't want to play. I include this so you can practice muting them. Now I do a little something different here. I lay my index finger down a little bit. So I'm muting the G string, and then I still bring over 1 finger, so sometimes I guess 2 fingers, to mute the E string. So I'm muting the G with this finger, and I'm muting the E with this finger. So I'm striking, and I'm trying my best to just hit the middle strings, but if you have a little collateral contact, it won't be heard. See? Same pattern. Go down, come back up. So just practice doing that. I know it might not be sonically interesting, but we're not doing sonically interesting right now. We're just trying to get the mechanics down. So just sitting there and going. Mess around with that a little bit, move it around, try different patterns, see if you can play some songs just using power chords and playing the guitar parts. Now, how can you put it into the bass lines? There's a bunch of ways, and I didn't want to turn you guys off by giving you like a real complex one, so I'm giving you a pretty simple one, and I'll also show you another dyad, another 2-note chord that sounds kind of cool. So looking at the sheet music, you're going to start with just 2 open E's, normal thumb, big sound. Then let your wrist hit the, that's called a wrist mute traditionally, but it's really just your hand hits the strings. And as you come up, you're going to hit a kind of a cool chord. And the chord is the 4th fret on the D string. And your pinky's going to reach all the way up. And it might be a stretch for some of you. You go all the way up to the 7th string on the G string. So what this is it's really a root and a major third, but I invert them. So I'm playing the major third below, which is the F sharp, and I'm putting the D, which is the tonic, above it, and I get this cool sound. Just a major third interval. So the first section is, okay? Then I do another wrist mute, and I move that index finger up 1 fret, but I don't move the pinky. And you get this. I like that. It's simple, but I like the possibilities that including these strums will have on you creating whole different bass lines that hopefully you've ever played before. Now the bass line ends by me doing the same thing again, but this time I just play 7th fret on the D string. In the previous recording, this is where I lost consciousness and started speaking in tongues. And then you're going to play the 9th fret on the G string. So it's just. So let me put the whole enchilada together and see if you guys like eating it. And that's the simple little groove. Just adding thumbs and strums. Thumbs and strums. That's cool. We should make a shirt. But don't stop there. Try to see where else you can put it. Put it on accents that you like. If you're in a band, talk to the guitar player, keyboard player. Find out what chords they're hitting on certain downbeats. See if you can strum a power chord there. Or try that major third shape that I showed you. Experiment with your own shapes, perfect fourths, things like that. Don't be limited at all. So that's strumming. Now, I mentioned earlier that I learned this from Stanley Clarke's school days, but he never stopped. And so many of his recordings, you can hear him kind of do these really cool strums, and he does these like flams with his fingers that are really cool, and we'll cover in future videos, I'm sure. But today I'd like to highlight another recording by Stanley Clarke, and this one is If This Bass Could Only Talk. Here's the graphic. So this recording, man, not only is there just so many great songs on it, and his playing is, of course, as always, just you can't say enough nice things about him. But there was one aspect that I really, really enjoyed and actually created a new musical venture for me. And that is the opening and closing tracks is just him on bass and Gregory Hines, the legendary actor tap dancer, tapping. So it was literally, Gregory was the drummer by tap dancing, and Stanley and him were improvising back and forth and doing amazing things together. I absolutely love that. It just, and it was kind of like a bucket list thing. I would someday love to perform live with a tap dancer. Well, 20 years passed, and I never gave up on that. And my daughter's a dancer, and I was at one point with at the school that she was studying dance at, and I met the son and co-owner of the studio, Luke Hawkins. And Luke Hawkins is a world-class tap dancer. He stars on Broadway, he's been in motion pictures, and he's traveled the world as a tap dancer. And he's just, God, he's so creative and really one of the best tap dancers on the planet today. So as I got to know him, I just took a chance and I said, "Hey, did you ever hear about Stanley Clarke, this bass player, jamming with Gregory Hines?" He's like, "No, dude, show me." And so I showed him some videos on my phone, and he's like, I just love it. He was like, "Let's do it," and that was all it took. There was a fundraising event where we wanted to contribute, so we played our first show. We call ourselves Slap and Tap, and it was amazing. I will share a little story with you though that so. We only got to play one song at this premiere, and we literally created it in the green room. And I showed him some slap grooves that I liked and how I wanted to build it up, and so it was like it had a big climactic explosive end, which had me doing the pop clap thumb triplet. It's not very hard to execute, but the audience always, it's kind of seemed like something that would bring the audience up to a boil. When I showed it to Luke, he was like, "Yes, yeah." And so he's like, "Okay, when we get to that point, I'm gonna stop on a downbeat, and you just start doing that, and then I'll join in, and we'll finish." And we messed with it a little bit, but I was really just focusing on my part. I didn't really kind of check out what he was doing in the green room, and we didn't have much time, so we just went up to the stage, and great introduction. We go up there and we start playing, and we go through, and it's going well. And I think the song was probably only about 5 minutes long. And we get to big climactic end, and I'm doing my, and I'm like really into it, and I'm like, kind of like, this is awesome. The audience was responding, and then I hear him come in, and he's matching me. He's doing everything I'm doing. We're just in unison. It's just like two crazed maniac machine gunners just emptying their belts. And I look over, and he's doing it with 1 foot. I'm using my index finger, all the fingers of my left hand, coming down, popping, and I'm just trying to keep all those in sequence, and I'm just doing both hands, and I'm going, I swear my forehead was at one point hitting. I mean, I'm doing everything I can to play this thing perfectly and have the right effect, and on 1 foot, he's tap dancing it. I love him so much. That just, I don't know if it's recorded, but I just start laughing because of how easy he made it. Anyway, it's awesome. And we played a handful of shows after that, but he's in New York most of the time, or in LA, and I'm up in Northern California. So Luke, if you happen to check this out, we must play again. There's probably the top 10 live performances I've ever done. You're in there, man, and it's wonderful. Likewise, I'd like to share with you, if this is something you want to do, maybe you're not even a slapper, but you have some cool ideas that you think would be interesting as a duo with a tap dancer, just go to your local dance studio that teaches tap dancing. See if you can talk to one of the tap instructors. If not, personally, just get an email address and share some ideas. And you'll be surprised. These amazing musicians, and I call them musicians because they're drummers. They're drummers with their feet. I've performed with many tap dancing jam sessions and things like that. They love the interaction with live musicians, and so I don't think you're going to get much resistance. So check it out. If it's something you want to do, it's an amazing experience, and it gives you a whole new way to see rhythms. And playing with Luke has made me a better player easily. That's one of the easiest things I've ever said, and it's absolutely true. So thank you guys. Fundamentals of Slap, Unit 7, Strumming, and If This Bass Could Only Talk by Stanley Clarke. Check it out. Check all these recordings out, and share yours. You know what? We haven't really talked about that much, but I'm constantly telling you, like, hey, this is a great disc, this is a great recording, this is a great live concert. I want to hear what you guys think. Put it in the comments below, or send it to me at 60 Cycle Hum. Remember, 60 Cycle Hum is basically your forum for sharing things to me. Just email dtitus@daletitus.com and include the recording. You don't have to give me the recording. Just tell me what it is. I'll buy it. And why it's important to you, what it means to you. And yeah, let's include it. I'd love to, because that then again gives me bigger ears and I get to hear more things. And this is not a one-way conversation. I say this a lot and I mean it. This is a collective. I happen to be the one in front of the camera, but I want you guys in front of the camera, and I want to hear what you guys have to say, and I want to include your comments and your suggestions and your questions in future videos. So there you have it. Loving this, guys. Thank you. Please subscribe, like, share the video. If you feel like it and you want to support the channel, it means a lot to me. You can go to patreon.com/everythingbass. Become a monthly subscriber. You'll get access to all my written materials and more. There's going to be more and more coming up there. I really want to show you how much I value your trust in me with your finances, of giving me the monthly subscription, that I'll try to be loading it just jam-packed with other things you guys can enjoy. Thank you so much, and I'll see you at the next video.